during the actual kind of breakthrough moments in conversations, does Jesus come up? Yes, eventually. But, there might be 3 or 4 times where, let's just say somebody comes and they're going, hey, I was thinking about processing some stuff that's going on in my marriage with you. I'll go, yeah, sure. So we're meeting and I'm asking questions. What happened? How's it going? I will generally just, at least the first 2 or 3 times, just try to get at stuff that's going on. But I will sometimes go, by the way, why did you ask me? Like, why did you feel like you wanted to run this by me? And oftentimes when I've said that, they will say, well, I don't know, they're just, sometimes they'll say, I Googled you. Sometimes they'll say, it seems like you and Cheryl have a really good relationship. Doesn't matter how they respond. I will say, look, can I tell you some stuff that's behind Cheryl and I's marriage? And I'll tell people, we almost divorced 3 years in because we fought every day. So I will give them the real story, but also go, but we haven't really had a fight for 20 years. And when they go, how? I go, would you give me permission to share some deeper stuff related to my faith and how that changed things? So that's where I will start to bring Jesus into the conversation. But I will specifically try to always keep the conversational tones on Jesus. Like I would encourage you, try to say the word Jesus more than you say anything. If you say, well, I started going to church and at church, and if you use church language, they're gonna fade out because they've had potentially some really negative church experiences. So I always say keep the conversation, once you're there, once you're at the Jesus zone, try to keep the conversation to the King and to the kingdom, okay? So if somebody says in a conversation, I ran into something different at my dad's Baptist church, then I can go, yeah, I'm sorry, you saw religion. Jesus, that stuff bugs Jesus. So I always try to make sure Jesus is separate from the religious stuff. And when you bring up the kingdom, when people oftentimes will ask you about things that are wrong in the world or why doesn't God help out or whatever, then you can start talking about the kingdom. Because the kingdom, the framework of the kingdom of heaven is that God's trying to recreate his original plan for earth now. Because of what he did on the cross, he disarmed evil. You can talk about evil with anybody right now. They have a sense that there's bad things and there's bad people and there's bad juju out there, right? So I can say God's making it available to reclaim the world. And so the stuff that you see that you wonder why God isn't fixing that, he actually is. But he fixes it through people. So if people don't get on board with it, it's going to keep happening. Okay, so if I can keep it on the king and the kingdom, you will find that the conversation almost always stays positive. And the conversation keeps going. I will tell you this too, try to not ever land the entire plane. Or don't dump the entire dump truck load. When Jesus talked about the kingdom, he never dumped the whole thing. He said, hey, the kingdom's like this. And then the boys would process it for 3 months. And they go, hey, by the way, the kingdom's also like this. So don't ever feel the pressure to, when you finally got your Jesus moment, to go, ha, and just, they only talk about what they want to talk about and then leave it. So if they're talking marriage, I talk marriage, talk about what changed for Cheryl and I, was literally understanding forgiveness. So I was able to talk about the cross and forgiveness and how we then extend it to each other. Very simple message, right? But that's it. And then I listen some more. And if it takes 5 more months, then we move on to the next conversation. Does that make sense? That's what we call just respecting people's belief journey. Most of us, I think we forget how long it takes us to believe in something. And we expect the world to just watch all that stuff on the news and all the stuff they see tied to religion, especially evangelicalism today. I mean, there's a wall of questions that they have, like, hello, please help me. Refugee thing. Can I get some help there? So we have a lot of sort of, sometimes I'll say it this way, evangelism is not just telling people something they've never heard. It's changing their assumptions about what they think it is. And so you'll need time for that.